Welcome back for another Victory at Sea unboxing. So today what we're going to be unboxing is the Imperial Japanese Navy Fleet Starter Box. So similar to the US Starter Box, this is going to have several ships in it that will help us get our fleet started and get us playing the game relatively quickly. So let's look at the back of the box before we open it. So similar to the US Navy box, we're going to get 8 resin ship models. We're going to get the Congo, which is a Japanese battleship, the Zuikaku, which is an aircraft carrier, the Suzuya, the Mikuma, and the Yahagi. I'm assuming that those are all cruisers to balance with what is in the US, but we'll find out when we open it up. And then we have 3 Congo Class destroyers and 4 Mitsubishi A6M2 Zeros, along with all the ship cards and damage sliders. So this looks very similar to what we got in the US starter. So let's open it up and have a look. This was packed for us by Alice. Thank you, Alice. Interestingly, this is padded by a little extra paper, which the US ships were not. So going along with what we did with the US, we will start with our 0 flights in the Kagero destroyers. Packed for us by B, it looks like. Thank you, B. So here are our zeros. So this is going to look very similar to what we got in the US. The airplanes look very similar. I'll have to check the molds in a little while, other than the 0 on the bottom. How much difference is there really with the planes when they're that small? I do think that there was a slight difference in the wings. But otherwise, the same thing. I suppose we should look at one of the bases. So this actually has 3 letters on it. I'm not sure what they stand for. Again, I'm assuming bomber, fighter, and I don't know what the K stands for at the moment, but we will learn that at some point. Now our destroyers. So again, these are that dark, not quite so great resin, although this has less flash on it. We've got a piece there. It has less flash on it than any of the dark gray models that I've opened so far. Between the 2-player starter, the US starter, and the Japanese starter, this is by far the least amount of flash. Let's see if we can get zoomed in on those. Okay, so there they are. Lots of very nice detail. Get all the guns there. So this, for the dark gray resin, this is probably the best that I've seen. One of the models comes straight out of the box. So I don't know if they've changed Their process, but these actually look pretty good. Just have that one piece of flash there that's major, and everything else is extremely minor. Now we have the Yahagi, the Mikuma, and the Suzuya. And this was packed by Rodica. Thank you, Rodica. Okay, so I do see a little bit of difference here with these ships than the US. These two are, so this is the best lighter gray. This is something in between. It's all I can say is medium gray. So we've got the dark gray and the light gray here, and we have a medium gray here. These do look better in general than the dark gray. So let's look at these. So this one is going to be the Suzuya. And this is a Mogami class cruiser, so something that we had from the starter. So I was wondering that I was wondering if the Japanese were just going to be starter cruisers just like the US. So this one is the Mikuma, also Omogami class cruiser. And here we have the Hahagi. Now this looks a little bit different to me. Okay, so this is an Agano class cruiser. So this is different than what we got in the two-player starter. Honestly, I'm happy about that. I prefer that. It's a little bit of a bummer that all the US cruisers were the same as the starter. Here we have two that are the same, but we do have one new cruiser. You can see the base for that one new one is quite a bit smaller. So I'm gonna assume the stats for that ship are going to be a little bit lower than here, but we don't know that. We won't know that until we actually look at the cards. And then our two big ships. Packaged by Alice. So like the US starter, we do get a battleship and a carrier. I'm just wanted to grab the Yamato to show how it compares. So the Yamato is bigger than both of these. I am going to say off the top of my head that I think the Japanese carrier is a little bit smaller than the carrier that we got for the US, but I think the battleship physically is a little bit bigger than the battleship that we got in the US starter. And this is, see if we can focus, there we go. This is the Zukaku. It's the Shokaku class carrier, but it's the Zukaku carrier is the name. Again, lots of great detail. Even the underneath the detail looks great. There's a lifeboat way under there. Very nice. And then we have the Congo Class battleship. And this is the Congo. And actually looking at this, so it's a very nice model. So these two models and these two are all this slightly lighter gray. We only have one model that's in the really light gray. But I'm going to say that this kind of medium, it's almost light, but medium gray is pretty good. I see very little flash. I actually see more flash on our one really light resin than I do on any of the four of this slightly darker resin. So I don't know what that's about, but all the models look great. They're all going to get painted. The color of the resin doesn't matter. It's just the detail that you get out of it that really matters. And then we have our metal bits here. And we're not going to go through every single one of those. It looks like Alicia again. Alicia packed most of our US Navy box. And the same thing, we have lots of metal bits. So this looks like it is for the Zukaku. It's for the Zukaku. So that one would be for all of the destroyers. And these do have a lot of flash, but it comes off pretty easily. And then we have the Congo. I'm just wondering with the Congo here, obviously we need more than 2 weapons. There's actually 2 sprues for the Congo. So the Congo has lots of little bits. And there's a bend to the gun here, but that comes out pretty easily. So I think that's the first time I've seen the parts split on 2 sprues for a single ship. And this is all just extra flash that came off. Now, let's look at the cards. The paper. Paper is kind of what gets me the most excited. I love the models, they're great, but I'm getting this to play a game, and you can't play the game without the stats. So in here we get an assembly guide. So there's the Congo with lots of little bits. And the Zukaku has relatively few, looks like 3 pieces. Packed by Alice again. More damage sliders. So this one, so the US one didn't have our Warlord resin flyer in it. They must have just missed that there. Not terribly important unless you are completely unfamiliar with doing resin kits and you get something that doesn't have this instruction. Read this the first 1 or 2 times you get one of these kits and you'll be all set. Alright, so now we're going to try and zoom in. Okay, so we have our Shokaku class aircraft carrier, 275 points. It has a flank speed of 7, which is actually, that surprised me, that's extremely fast in the game. Armor 3. Hull starts at 64, 21 becomes critically damaged. Traits are carrier, obviously, and torpedo belt 2. This one carries 18 flights, a little bit less than the US carrier, but I think game mechanic wise, from what I understand so far, that's, except for some scenarios, the difference there isn't going to really make much of a difference. And we just have some light guns. Again, if you're using your guns to try and fight off a close attack, you're probably in the wrong place and things have probably not gone well for you in the game. But we do have some light guns. They are dual purpose, so you can use them for anti-aircraft. They're restricted, so you only can use half of the dice depending on which side of the ship you're shooting out of. And they're weak, so they cannot cause critical damage. And our AA battery is a local 2. So again, not as good as the US carriers AA, but better than a lot of the Japanese models. And again, our ships in the class looks like there was 2 of them. History, real life stats, and then refits. Not a lot of refits on these, and they're all related to increasing and bettering your anti-aircraft capabilities. Okay, so we have our Agano class light cruiser. So this is the light cruiser that was not in the starter. It's 110 points, so that is a relatively cheap cruiser for the Japanese. Speed of 7, very fast. Armor of 2. The hull is 17 and 5, so it doesn't take a lot of hits to take it down, but it is very fast, which is going to help it. Its traits are aircraft 3, armored deck, and torpedo belt 2. All nice stats to have. And then we have turret A, B, and X are all 6-inch guns with a 5-inch point blank, 11-inch short, 17-inch long, and 23-inch extreme. They each throw 1 dice, armor piercing of a -2 with 1 damage dice. So not terribly powerful guns. Probably going to be shooting at other cruisers or destroyers with this. You're not going to do much damage to battleships. It is fast track, which is good. So I'm not familiar with the fast track, but that should help, I believe, in tracking other fast ships that are close by. It's twin linked. Again, this is another new stat that I am not as familiar with. It is weak though, so it cannot cause critical damage. I'm going to guess that the fast track and twin linked, there's things that are going to help it significantly in other ways though. We'll learn about that when we get to playing the game a little bit more. As an AA battery, it actually has a decent AA battery. It has some range on its AA and a local 1. And we have some torpedoes. They are the Type 93s, which for the Japanese, they're probably the best torpedoes in the game. They are devastating and slow loading, so you will get to use them twice during the game instead of just once. So much different stats to the Agano. I like that. I like to have options and choices. This looks like it has a significantly different role to play than the other Japanese cruisers. Then we have our Congo Class battle cruiser. So they don't actually call it a battleship. They're calling it a battle cruiser. So I'm guessing that means it's, not quite as strong as a battleship, but it's going to be probably a lot stronger than most cruisers. So 375 points. So this does say it's a battleship, even though it says battle cruiser up here. Flying speed of 6, armor of 4, which is good, hull of 7324. Traits are aircraft, armored deck, and torpedo belt 2, aircraft 3, by the way. Again, all nice stats to have. For our guns, we have an A and a B in the front, an X and a Y in the back. All 14-inch guns, 9-inch point blank, 19-inch short, 29-inch long, 39-inch extreme. They each throw 2 dice, They do have an armor piecing value of +1, which is good. And for every hit that you get, you'll be throwing 2 damage dice. And no special traits on any of those. Our light gun, we have 14 6-inchers with this with the ranges. We have attack dice of 8, -2 for armor piercing. We're going to throw 1 damage dice for each attack dice that hits. It is restricted and weak. Then we have another set of light guns, a little bit shorter range, 6 attack dice, -2 armor piercing, 1 damage dice per hit on the attack. These are dual purpose, so they can be used for anti-aircraft, restricted and weak. And the AA battery is just a local 1. And stats on the back. So it looks like this actually has a table in the back, so it looks like there's some significant changes at some point to its light guns, which you can do based on what's going on here. There are some significant. So this 1943 says you add radar, change the light guns as shown below, and increase the AA battery to local 2 for plus 55 points. So significant upgrade. I don't necessarily see right off what the benefit of that is, but I will have to look that up and figure it out. Because there's no damage dice here, I am wondering if this table is incomplete. I will have to look in the rulebook and see what the stats for that are. The cards are all flipped around here. So we have our Mogami. We saw the Mogami, 280 points. We saw one in the starter, in the 2-player starter. These are, heavily armed ships. Second Mogami. Then we have our Kagero class destroyers. These are 100 points. That's an expensive destroyer, so I'm not sure what. Okay, I can kind of see. So it does have the slow loading trait. So most torpedoes on destroyers are 1-shots. We have slow loading here, so you're going to get extra shots out of your torpedoes with the Kagero. 7-inch speed, 1 for armor, 5 and 2 for hull, and it's agile. So the agile is going to let it turn a lot more frequently, be right where it wants to be. It does have a change here, light guns, 6 5-inch. Only 1 attack dice may be fired into the front arc and 2 in the aft arc. Not exactly sure what they mean by fired into the front arc. I would think it would just be in the front arc, 2 in the aft arc. I think that into might be poor wording, possibly. So the light guns, which are weak, our AA battery, just a local 1. But this, you're going to be taking this for the Type 93 torpedoes. That's why you're taking a Kagero, and you're going to try and get a bunch of torpedoes into something. And we have 3 of those. So thank you very much for coming. Get a couple of the ships in there. Thank you for watching this video. I think these starters are excellent. If you're into any of the other navies, post down below. Maybe I'll do an unboxing for another navy sometimes if there's a significant interest for it. But for now, I'm focused on the Japanese and American navies. After I get all of these assembled and painted and get a couple of games in, I will be expanding my American and Japanese navies. I don't expect to purchase a lot more until I can get these on the table and get a few games in. Not necessarily play every single model, but at least get a few games in, know what I'm doing, so I can make a better choice about what it is that I would like. For example, I think both the Japanese and the American navies have an additional carrier. Do I really need multiple carriers? I don't know. Possibly. If you're doing scenarios, obviously you will, because certain scenarios will require a lot of carriers. But if I'm just doing a competitive points limit type game, am I going to want or need multiple carriers? We'll just have to wait and see. The battleships, if they're of a different type, I will get them first. If they're of the same type as what you get in the starter, I might get something different. I think the big thing missing from both the Americans and the Japanese, in terms of myself, for something that's available right now, would be subs. So that may be something that I target in the more near future than other things, unless of course more flights come out. If the flight packs for these two navies come out, that'll probably be the next thing that I get. If those are delayed, which is entirely possible, the way things are going right now with supply and shipping, then the subs might be the next thing that we go with. So thank you very much. Thank you for watching. If you like this, if you're going to play the Japanese Navy, let me know. Like, subscribe, have fun, keep on gaming, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.